Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Alton West. Today I will have on our two freshman council members from the City of LaGrange Council. So stay tuned for those interviews coming up in just a moment.
I love my town.
We love our town.
I love my street.
I love my street.
I'm West Point Mayor Steve Trammell. Did you know Webster's Dictionary defines litter as things lying about in disorder, especially bits of rubbish?
I love my town.
I love my town.
I love my street.
I love my street.
I love my town. I love my town.
And I love my town.
I'm Hogansville Mayor Bill Stankiewicz. Did you know litter cleanup costs in the U.S. are roughly $11.5 billion? And in Georgia, they're $14.6 million.
I love my town.
I love my town.
I love my town. I love my town.
Litter decreases property values by up to 15%.
Litter kills wildlife, diminishes water quality, and is a factor in several motorists' deaths every year.
Littering is a crime. If you are caught littering in Georgia, you could pay a fine of up to $1,000. I love my town.
And I love my town.
We love our town. I love my town.
West Point loves you.
Hogansville loves you. LaGrange loves you.
Troup County loves you.
Love it back.
Love it right back.
Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have the pleasure of being joined by one of our junior council members to the City of LaGrange, Mr. Nathan Gaston. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Nathan, it's a pleasure to sit down with you and talk a little bit about some of the things that's going on within the City of LaGrange, and there's a number of things that we could talk about. But before we get into all of that, I know that you are one of our junior council members. I'm going to have our second junior council member come on a little bit after your presentation. But tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Well, my name is Nathan Gaskin, and I was just elected in January. I'm a father of four, married. I live on Troup Street in the heart of the community, and I'm just really blessed to be here and having an awesome time absorbing everything that's coming at me. It's really a different chapter in my life at this point.
Absolutely. And, talking about absorbing everything that's coming in.
Oh, yeah.
It hasn't been overwhelming at this point, I would say.
Not overwhelming. Surprising, different, but very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, because I was the same way before I got into city government, I didn't, I think, okay, lights come on, the water flows, all those various things, and I'm not concerned about it. But when you get into the trenches of things and kind of know all the behind the scenes and the operation of the city, and you all, and I want to get into this, we just recently finished up the budget, and I know the city manager was telling us it takes about $300,000 a day to run this operation.
That is correct.
That we're a part of. Talk a little bit about your experience in going through the first budget process.
Well, the first budget process was it was interesting. It wasn't overwhelming due to my previous experience at Delta Airlines. I managed a $5 million worth of accounts. It was interesting to know that we need to put more stopgaps in to check to make sure that we're always staying profitable. When it comes to, like you said, $300,000, something that is losing money can get away from you quite quickly. Mm-hmm. So you always have to have those stopgap measures, and you always have to have a reserve because, the unexpected things happen and losses can happen. Mm-hmm. Actually overnight. Fortunately we have been blessed. Mm-hmm. No huge disasters, no tornadoes, nothing that has really been really taxing on the government as of yet.
That's right.
But we always have to be vigilant, prepared for these things.
That's
so
right.
you know, monitoring the budget and being a part of the budget process was really good to make sure that, you know, those interests are covered.
That's right. And you know, in saying that, Nathan, and I know that our citizens, a lot of times they say, well, I pay taxes to the city, and it's so important that they understand that, you know, technically you don't pay a city tax, you pay a tax to the county, to the school, and to the state. We actually have no millage here in the city of LaGrange, so the enterprises that we have in place are the revenue generators for the city of LaGrange. And I know that you all found that out, and you know, that's something that I've been knowing for quite some time.
Right. You know, and as a revenue-based city, it allows you to, of course, to turn a profit. But at the same time, you don't want to become business-like minded in the point where you're cold and calculated and forget about the people. We always have to put the people's interests first, because the reason why this is a business entity type of situation is so that we can maximize the return to the people. So the people always have to be in the forefront.
That's right.
As to, is this best for the people? Not, is it best for me? Is it best for the people? Not even if it's best for business. Is it best for the people?
That's right. Absolutely. And you know, in talking about the people, you know, we see there's a number of projects that we have on the table that are, you know, geared up to bringing the people out for enjoyment, for recreation, for exercise purposes. And one of those things that I want to talk about is the Thread. And I know that you and the other council members have been very vital in that. Talk about, we recently opened the second phase of the Thread, the East Side Park, coming in towards the downtown area. Talk about that and what that will mean to the community.
You know, it's interesting you should bring that up, because the Thread Trail provides a magnificent opportunity for the East Side area. There are some currently vacant properties over there that are zoned commercial. With the redevelopment of the park area that surrounds the Thread Trail, we had a big discussion about, you know, the big hillside slides and everything like that. It provides a very unique opportunity to bring commerce into an area that was once vacant of commerce. You know, you got a couple of, you know, stores, you know, well, one or two stores, a laundromat, but there's opportunity there for more, much more, and which I think is very important to the community, to ensure that we have a good economic mix in the area, as opposed to just, you know, people of income that are less than $100,000. We need to broaden that and make sure that, you know, we have entities there that can bring in revenue so that everyone can share in the profits.
Absolutely. You know, it's so important. You know, we can't be the Beltline in Atlanta or the Green Belt in Carrollton, but I think you're absolutely right. I think the more we can develop along that thread and have that commerce, the commercial, and it gives people that are utilizing the thread, you know, maybe to pull off, get ice cream or you know, something of that nature.
That's right.
To model ourselves.
And you know, because the thread itself is, you know, it's a beautiful nature trail. But there are going to be those sections where it emerges out, and we want them to emerge to beauty.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's going to be our that's going to be what people remember. That's going to be what our children are going to admire for years to come.
Absolutely. You know, Nate, and you talking about beauty. We're talking about our communities. You had an idea that we took to heart, and we really put our backs where our mouths were. And you're wearing your button here today saying, leave LaGrange better than you found it. Talk a little bit about that for us.
Well, you know, in this world of disposable things, you know, and everything's quick, fast, and in a hurry, we forget about the footprint that we're leaving behind. And we have a beautiful lake, beautiful creeks and rivers that flow through this community. And I just want to make sure that, you know, we're not damaging while we're here. We want to make sure that for generations to come, the children can enjoy what we enjoy. You know, I don't want the fishes to have three eyes, you know? three-eyed fish in West Point Lake. We don't want that. We want, we want a clean, livable, respectful community that people can be proud of. And leaving LaGrange better than how we found it is something that was taught to me all my life. Through my upbringing. You always want to leave your mark wherever you go, and so people know that, okay, yeah, he's been here. Because it's clean. It's cleaner now than when he got here. So yeah.
Absolutely. And we had our first one, a month or so ago, and then this past Saturday, the city once again invited volunteers to come out to do the exact same thing, with cleaning up various areas of our community. And that's something that we hope that the citizens of LaGrange will take heart to as well, to leave it better than they found it, because I think working together we can make that footprint in our community. And when we have all these visitors that will be coming here for some of these projects, the Thread, and I want to transition a little bit now, talking about Great Wolf and all those visitors coming in. We want them to get a pleasant experience here. Talk about the Great Wolf. I know that you all have been out there. Talk about what that means to our community.
Wow, what it means to our community, the immediate community is a great economic boost, a great way to start. Great way to start this century, really. Because it's going to change the entire region as it applies to where people want to come to vacation. In light of the rising fuel prices, air incidents, and overseas incidents, people are looking to go places that are safe, closer to home, and enjoyable. And we have all the amenities that anyone could ever want right here. We have a beautiful lake. We've got Great Wolf, easy interstate access. And most of all, the most important part of Great Wolf being here is they're excited. I had a great conversation. They're excited about our most valuable resource, and that's our people.
Absolutely.
The wonderful, loving people of LaGrange and Troup County that come out with a can-do attitude, can-do spirit, that they want to help make this place better.
Absolutely. And that is so important, Nathan, making it better, as you stated, not only for today, but for years to come.
That's right.
And I want to close out by asking you the question. You're a freshman, I meant to say junior, but you were one of the freshman council persons. Where do you see the city going, say 5 years? What do you see us in 5 years from now? Or what would you like to see happening 5 years from now?
We sit in a very unique location. And maybe that was due to how the river crosses into Alabama, how the rail lines were built. If you look at a map, we're almost equidistant from several major cities, from Macon, Columbus, Birmingham, Atlanta, Montgomery. We're surrounded by a whole bunch of major cities. And dare I say that within 5 years, we are going to be the shining star in the middle of all those cities.
Absolutely.
We're going to be the model that people look up to, and people are going to be coming to us saying, how did you do that? What works? And I heard you mention Carrollton and Carrollton trail that they have up there. LaGrange what we have here in LaGrange is so much better. It is so much better because the people are really behind it, with the splosh dollars. And I was opposed to splosh at first. It's almost like I liken splosh to a tool. You can't get mad with the plow when your crops don't come in.
That's right.
It's just a tool.
That's right.
But it's the seeds that we sow with the splash money. What kind of fruit are we going to bring about? What are we going to
harvest out of it?
What are we going to harvest out of it from what we sowed?
Absolutely.
So I think we're sowing some great seeds right now, and we're going to reap the benefits down the line, and our children will reap the benefits. And I think it's just a tremendous point in the history of LaGrange.
Very good. Well, you know, Nathan, our time gets away from us so quickly, and I definitely want to make sure that we get you back on, and maybe another 6 months, if you don't mind, and just kind of see how things are going at that time, okay?
I don't mind, and I appreciate you having me here. This is the first media interview that I've done since I've been elected, and I really appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you very much, Nathan. All right.
All right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more City Week in just a moment.
Nobody wants to be stopped by a law enforcement officer.
Everyone wants to feel safe.
So we've trained our officers to first listen and then explain.
We ask if you have contact with one of our officers, you listen, give him an opportunity to explain, comply with his requests, and if there's a problem, contact us so that we can investigate your complaint.
Listen, explain, comply, then complain.
Our safety and yours matters.
Welcome back to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Now I'm being joined by our other freshman council member to the City of LaGrange Council, Mr. Jim Arrington. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alton, for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to sit down with you. And as you heard a moment ago, I had on Nathan Gaskin, the other freshman council member here. And I basically want to kind of go the same format, ask the same question, because I know that a lot of times when people get elected, you know, to council, they think about, oh, well, I'm going to be able to do this, I'm going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But before we get into all that, Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Well, I'm Jim Arrington. Been here all my life. I got wife and kids. My son just graduated LaGrange High School.
Oh, man. Okay.
Headed to Auburn. My daughter's a senior at Auburn. So, you know, kind of change up in my life altogether. Got elected as city council and it started in January, and you know, just kind of it's a new chapter in my life.
It is. And Jim, talk about your experience thus far as a new council member. Has it been overwhelming to you?
It hasn't been overwhelming, but there's a lot of things that you just didn't know. I mean, you know, you think you can go in and do one thing, and you get there, and you're like, I see this ain't gonna happen.
So you had to change that idea, right?
Well, not necessarily change it, but figure out how you get to that point over a period of time.
That's right. Know. Absolutely. And you know, I was talking to Nathan about the budget a moment ago too. Talk about you going through the first budget.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
You know, I didn't realize what it takes to operate the City of LaGrange. I mean, you know, I knew it was, I knew it took a lot of money, and I knew it took a lot of people. But until you sit down and physically look at that budget, you know, it's kind of surprising at the things. I think y'all may have touched on it a little bit before, but it's about $300,000 per day.
That's right.
And so that's, you know, it's a big undertaking, the budget, especially the, you know, $110 million budget.
That's right. Absolutely. And, you know, we were also talking about, before we came on just a moment ago, the people here that work with the City of LaGrange. You being a business owner yourself, you know, retention is something that's important.
Yes.
Talk about that and how, you know, you have seen, you know, the retention rate that we have with the City of LaGrange.
You know, as a business owner, you want to keep these people working for you, because every time you have a turnover, you got to retrain. It costs you money. That's just costing our citizens of LaGrange money. So, my opinion is, you know, you have a little higher pay scale for the people you need to be in the places that you need them at to retain them. And I noticed, like you, it's how long you been with the city?
Almost 30 years.
So obviously it's a great place to work.
Absolutely, it is.
And I know a lot of other people that's been there 20 years, 25. You know, it's just, it seems to be a great place.
Absolutely. And, you know, for me, like I stated, you know, before I got on with the city, you know, I was telling Nathan, I was like, okay, as long as the water came on, the lights came on, I was satisfied. But it's like you were stating a moment ago, and I think a lot of times, not to insult any of our citizenry, but I think a lot of times they don't necessarily understand the workings behind the scene, the things that have to happen to make sure that our landscaping is kept up to speed. Our roads are kept, paved, and all the sanitation is picked up in time and manner.
They want all these entities or all these assets that they can use and utilize, but you just don't realize what it takes to maintain them.
That's right, absolutely.
And it's which I think are all great things, and we just have to take on that responsibility of maintenance stuff.
That's right. And talking about assets, Jim, and I know that you live out Vernon Road, and then we have the thread that's coming around on the Broad Street area, and we do ask our citizens to be patient with us as we're burying power lines and other things there. Talk about that, the thread, and what that will mean for our community.
Well, Alton, since I've moved over on Vernon, been there about 2 years now. My wife and I, we love to walk. I mean, we'll walk downtown. We'll walk down to eat dinner at one of the restaurants downtown, and maybe get an ice cream and walk back. So, to me, I mean, you got the sidewalks, but the thread is just so much nicer to walk on. I mean, and it links one place to another. Once it gets finished. Right now we kind of got parts here and there, but eventually it's going to link one place to another. And I hope just to walk out of my house and hop on the thread, and who knows where I'll end up being at. It's just a quality of life that I think the citizens of LaGrange and maybe most of the nation want to kind of get back to. Just a little bit. A little less stress-free, get out there and walk and talk to your neighbors a little bit.
And that's the whole point behind it, is talking to the neighbors, as you stated, because eventually when all the 29 miles are complete, you'll be able to walk from the east side of town to the west side of town, north side of town to the south side of town, and in between. And that's one of the things that we hope that will take place, that the neighbors will get out and start knowing who their neighbors are. And I think, like you said, it's exercise. I was downtown this past weekend, and I ran into you and your wife, as a matter of fact.
We try to walk down there at least once or twice a week.
Absolutely. And you know what? Walking is good for us.
And I hadn't, I don't know that I could do 27, 28 miles at this point. But
that's right. We'll do what we can, right? That's right. We go. Absolutely. But Jim, I also, with just one of the amenities that we have here in our community, and as I was talking to Nathan a moment ago, too, we have the Great Wolf Water Resort there. Talk about what that means to our community and also to this region.
I think, this is my personal opinion, it's a game changer for LaGrange and Troup County. Everybody wants to have all the amenities, all the restaurants, all the places to take your kids and play, and this is, I think, going to be the thing that actually brings it. And once those other places, the restaurants start coming in around Great Wolf, then the others are going to follow suit.
That's right.
And so I really think that this is a game changer for LaGrange, and not that I think all of our citizens are going to utilize Great Wolf, but they're going to reap the benefits that Great Wolf brings.
Yeah, and this helps the citizens understand it, because as Nathan, when we talked about the SPLOST, when these 500,000 visitors, which are anticipated to come to our communities, then they will be spending monies at the restaurants, staying in the hotels.
And we're going to be collecting SPLOST dollars. And then we're going to be building more trails, with hopefully new parks, upgrading sidewalks that we already have, just doing all those upgrades that our community needs.
Absolutely. And it's so important that is to know that, because not only with the Great Wolf, but we're also looking at Gateway Quarter improvements as well. The Whitesville Road, Hamilton Road, Lafayette Parkway, Commerce Avenue, and that's going to mean so much for our community. And again, we want to, when those visitors come, we want them to get, oh man, I really enjoyed LaGrange.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You hear that all the time now. People come in and they're just like, I'd love LaGrange. I'm doing a job for a customer now that came here 5 years ago, visiting, and now they're moved here just because they loved our downtown area.
That's right.
So it's, people love it.
And you hear that so many times when you're talking to people. I was down on the square one day, and a lady was there, and I'm a talker, Jim, if you hadn't noticed that. I just went over and started talking to her, and it was her first time being here, and she was just talking about how much she had really enjoyed the downtown LaGrange, and then just to have somebody come up and start talking with her, and as a matter of fact, we kind of plugged in, and we're trying to get her to move here to LaGrange now, as a matter of fact. The other thing that I want to talk about, Jim, is we're now developing the south end of LaGrange, the skate park area. Talk a bit about that, if you don't mind.
You know, that section there has been long overdue of having something done. I mean, I'm excited about it because it's going to kind of tie in with downtown. You know, you got Sweetland on the upper end, and then you got the south side of the park down there on that end, and the restaurants and the ice cream places and the hotel, everything in between, and the brewery. I mean, so it's all going to be right there in walking distance, and then you know you got the thread and all will be coming through there. So again, it's just going to kind of link things up, and just going to be a great improvement for that area.
Yes, it is. Yes.
I'm not going to be down there on the skateboard, but
well, you and me either.
Hey, but I've talked to a lot of people that are excited about this project.
Right. That's right.
And that's what it's about. It's not about me or you. It's about the entire.
That's right.
City.
That's right. And leaving something for our kids. As Nathan stated a moment ago, you know, you and I probably in the same age range. And like you said, my worst accident was on a skateboard. So I know I won't be on one either. But we have to leave something for the next generation.
Yes.
So that they can enjoy. Because we have to also remember when we were younger, we enjoyed various activities and things. So we have to make sure that we have something here that's going to retain our young population. And when they come back from graduating from Auburn, that they want to come back.
That's exactly right. That's you know, that's one of my biggest goals, I think, as a councilman, is to I want my children to raise their children here, and you know, I don't know what that goal end result is, other than have my kids move back here after they get done graduating and settle down to raise their family. That's my end goal, and all these things that's taking place now are part of the things that are going to bring these younger kids back to LaGrange and build this community. I think it's more of a quality of life than anything else. You know, you build these things, and I'd love to see more parks being put back. I don't want to go back to the good old days, because I like indoor plumbing, and
I do know about that.
But there's things like the parks and the thread that bring people together. That this is a quality of life that you just can't get everywhere.
That's right.
And that's, to me, that's huge. To probably extend you a few years on your lifespan.
I agree.
To just come home in the evening and you know, from a stressed job or a stressed day, and get out on the thread and go walking, and then, you know, meet a friendly face and smiling and talking to you. You know, there's something to be said for that.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, you know what? I think you guys, our two freshman council members, you guys have it wrapped up, because you guys know, and you know, I want to have you come back on too a little bit later on, just to kind of talk a little bit more about your experience and what are some of the things that you see us getting into, you know, within the next 5-10 years. So I want to definitely thank you for coming on the show today, being my guest.
I appreciate it, Alton. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more City Week in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining for City Week this week. My guests have been from the LaGrange City Council. I had on Councilman Jim Arrington and also had on Councilman Nathan Gaskin, as they both talked about all of the various things happening in and around our city of LaGrange. And I hope that each one of our citizens will come out and enjoy the thread, the Great Wolf, and all the other things that are taking place. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed these interviews. And as always, I want to invite you back for more of City Week.